Topic has promoted some interest in our chat room. Here we got a question from Pam on chat. I watched a scary movie by myself last night. In the middle of the night, my 8-year-old woke up hearing noises and howling. Did I open the door for demons? Well, you're into a very interesting subject as to how do you open doors for demons, and there's I'll draw the line between oppression and possession. You open the door to possession by literally inviting him to come in. And that's in all the cultures, when they start talking about possession, there's idol worship involved and bowing down and asking the spirit in the idol. And Moses says specifically there are demons behind every idol, that you invite them in. That's called opening the door. How do you shut the door is, I guess, the next question. And it's up to you. All you have to do is shut it and say, I take the authority given to me as a believer in Jesus Christ, and I shut the door. You have no authority in my home. You cannot oppress my 8-year-old. You must leave his dreams. You must leave now, and no more howling and no more noises in the middle of the night. That's what you do. It's the believer's authority. You can shut the door. And there's no such thing as selling your soul to the devil or going too far that you can't come back. The blood of Jesus Christ redeems all mankind for all time. He's paid the price. You can't sell what's not your own. Jesus has already bought and paid for you. So you no longer have the authority to sell it. And all you have to do is say, I cancel, I accept Jesus, and I accept the bargain that he has freely given to me. And understand, it's always by grace. It's not by works. And when you stand in the grace and the love of God, you have all the strength you need. You're more than a conqueror through the love of Christ given to you. Well, Stephen's life was like something out of a Twilight novel. He and his friends played elaborate games dressed as vampires and werewolves, and Stephen even became a real witch. But his life spun completely out of control the night he was spooked by a stranger.
Stephen Beatty was a self-professed warlock. As a Wiccan, he cast spells and had several dark demonic encounters. His trek to the dark side began in 2001, when his girlfriend had a miscarriage.
When it didn't work out and the baby was stillborn, I was completely crushed. I had no idea where to go, where to turn. I couldn't think. All I could think about was how badly and how much I wanted this child.
Stephen blamed God for his baby's death.
It pushed me away from God because somebody told me that God had a reason for taking this child. And I thought, I don't want to have any part in a God who will take a child from somebody who wants it.
Partly due to the miscarriage, his relationship with his girlfriend ended. Stephen was totally broken. He turned to drinking and drugs to mask the anger in his soul.
I'd started getting into cocaine and prescription drugs, painkillers, antidepressants, and stuff like that.
Stephen said he felt like an outcast until he entered the world of goth. That's where he met and married Dottie, who had 2 girls from a previous marriage.
They didn't care what I was doing, they didn't care what I looked like, and they didn't care how I acted. I remember wearing 2 to 3-inch spikes around my neck, 3 to 4-inch spikes on my wrist.
Stephen, Dottie, and their goth friends also participated in intricate role-playing games.
They had different roles like vampires, werewolves, a mage, which was a witch. They had what they called dark angels.
And that opened the door to something even darker, the occult.
At first, I didn't want anything to do with it, but the more I hung out and the more I was there, I think I started searching for some kind of religious stability because I needed a set of beliefs to live by, and I didn't want to change my life. So Wicca kind of fit the bill at the time.
The Wiccan rituals and spells opened him up to what he calls demonic encounters. One day at his home, Stephen and some friends noticed an object, a knife, moving on its own.
It started spinning, and nobody was touching it. And one of my friends looked at me, he said, "Did you see that?" I said, yes, and everybody that was in the house left.
Months later, he had an encounter he would never forget.
In the dead center of my room, there was a dark figure, just kind of sitting like cross-legged. It was just sitting there looking at me, levitated off the floor. It gives you chills, and it was really scary.
Stephen was terrified when he saw the power of Satan. He knew his life needed to change. Then one day, while attending his stepdaughter's soccer practice, he met another dad, a pastor, who invited him to church.
I said, I'm going to tell you why I don't go to church. I said, I'm a witch. I believe in Wicca. And he looks at me and he says, well, how's that working out for you? And I said, not too good.
The pastor gave him a Bible, and Stephen began reading. And then on Easter Sunday, he went to church to see his stepdaughter sing in the choir. That was the day his life totally changed.
It was just the music, the songs, and just the message. It was just the way the story of Christ was laid out, that it really made me understand that I needed Christ in my life and that I was a sinner.
Stephen began to pray.
I told God that I knew that I was wrong in the way that I lived, that everything about my life was wrong, and I needed forgiveness, and just wanted Jesus. I just wanted Christ in my heart and in my life. It was an overnight change. I had already given up almost everything from my past. I was still drinking, but it was like overnight. I didn't want to drink anymore. My language cleared up. Just the way that I carried myself, it was an overnight change.
Others saw the change in Stephen too. Pastor Nate Blackledge explains.
Anytime you talk to him, it just seems like the number one thing on his heart is what he can do to be used by God, to see God do it work in not necessarily his own life, but anybody's life that he comes in contact with. It's amazing.
Stephen and Dottie have since had a child of their own. They're amazed at all that God has done for their family.
Without his grace and his mercy, I wouldn't be here now. I just don't believe that I would have made it through what I've come through without him. God is my strong tower. I find my strength in him. Without him, I am nothing.
God is my strong tower. With him, I can do all things. Without him, I can do nothing. When we really understand that, and understand that we're created beings, and we were created specifically to have a relationship with God. And the interesting thing is, not an unequal one. He wanted to have true fellowship with us, where he would come down in the cool of the evening and talk with us, not as some kind of master, but as a friend. And when we get that, and when we understand that, then the lie of the enemy is just that, a lie. You know, it's exactly what he talked to Adam and Eve in the garden. And he said, if you eat this fruit, you'll be like God. Well, that ignored the fact that they were already like God. They were made in his image, made to have a unique fellowship with him that would be for all eternity. That was God's plan. That was God's dream, for us to live in a garden and be friends with him. And we messed it up, and we went the other way. But I've got some great news for you. God hasn't given up on his dream. And all it takes for you to turn is to say, I want to leave the lie and embrace the truth. And who's the truth? Well, it's Jesus. And he says it very clearly. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. And when you can embrace him and go through him to the Father, well, then you have all the things that you'd ever wanted. It's all there for you. So let me ask you the same question that pastor asked. How's this working out for you? You know, if you've gotten involved in the paranormal, if you've gotten involved in drugs and all the things that the world has to offer, how's it really working out for you? And let me challenge you with this prayer. Jesus, If you're there, show me. Reveal yourself to me. And if you pray that with your heart, he'll come in and he'll change you. What he did to Steve, he'll do for you. If you want someone to pray with you, all you have to do is call us, 888-777-1999. We leave you this words from Philippians, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known.